Christmas is only a few days away as we record the show here on Tuesday, and whether you celebrate Christmas or not, we here at Chat Sports and the family here at Chat Sports in Dallas, Texas, wants to wish all of you a happy holiday season. So if you're excited for the holidays, hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. We hope you have a safe holiday season. You're able to enjoy it with your closest friends and family members, and let's start today's show. Welcome in to the Los Angeles Lakers Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. Coming up on today's show, should the Lakers make a trade for Jaxson Hayes of the New Orleans Pelicans, who, according to a variety of reports, could be made available in a trade from the New Orleans Pelicans, especially if that dysfunctional franchise does decide to rebuild. And me, Chase Senior, I believe he could be a nice fit on the Los Angeles Lakers in that front court. So, for those of you unfamiliar with who Jaxson Hayes is, we'll break it down for you. Went to Texas, played for the Longhorns, was a top 10 pick back in 2019, 8th overall. He's a high flyer, ridiculous athlete who, when you watch him, you're like, damn, this guy is just incredible with how he moves and how he jumps as a shot blocker and a dunker, especially throwing down those alley-oops. Comes in with a frame of 6'11", 220 pounds, but the big problem with him and why he could be made available in a trade, he's really had an up and down career, and this year in year 3, he is out of the Pelicans rotation. They actually sent him back to the G League, where in a couple of games, he was averaging around 24 points per game. The ability isn't the question. Can he string it together consistently? That has been the problem with Jaxson Hayes. But when you're a top 10 pick, the upside is certainly there, and you can be very intrigued by this prospect, especially when you watch him. Now, The Athletic put out a piece, a Q&A with Jaxson Hayes, and they asked him about all of these trade rumors going on right now. And he hasn't necessarily been linked to the Los Angeles Lakers. I just look at this roster, and I think he would be a fabulous fit and be a lot better than a DeAndre Jordan and a Dwight Howard and fulfill some needs in that front court, especially if Anthony Davis's knee injury does linger and continue in the months ahead. Jaxson Hayes, when asked about those aforementioned trade rumors, said this: I haven't seen much of it. People will tell me about it sometimes, so it's hard to pretend like it's not there, but I don't pay it any mind. I'm just focusing on myself and making myself better. I want to help whatever team I'm playing for, whether it's the Pelicans, Birmingham in the G League, or whoever. I want to be the best player I can be. Brutal situation for him to be playing in New Orleans in front of a fan base that doesn't care, and in Birmingham for the G League. That right there, folks, is pretty rough, especially when you played your college ball in a great city like Austin, Texas. Let me ask you this, Laker Nation, before we continue to break this down and what it would mean for the Los Angeles Lakers and what he could potentially bring to the table. What is your level of interest in this player? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video, so if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, scroll on down, get your votes in. By the time you do that, we'll be chopping it up more here on the Lakers Report. Now, his struggles have certainly happened over the last couple of years, and when he was drafted top 10, goes to New Orleans, has a pretty good rookie year, and you're like, man, this is the year that they got him and Zion Williamson in the first round. They're very good friends, and on the floor, they can be a very good 1-2 punch. Now, his second year, he still was pretty solid a year ago, but his minutes went down and the production went down from his rookie campaign. Last year, 16 minutes per game, 7.5 points, 4.3 rebounds, about a half block per night, and he shot a little less than 63% from the floor. And he has started to work on his offensive game and stretch it out to the arc slowly but surely. This year, as I mentioned, basically out of that rotation for head coach Willie Green on one of the worst teams in the Western Conference, by the way, and his minutes are down from 16 to less than 12. His points per game suffering as well. So too are the rebounds, giving you the same blocks per night statistic, but his field goal percentage with less opportunities and less minutes down to about 50.5%. Going back to his fit on the Los Angeles Lakers, this is an old and aging roster. That's why I like Jaxson Hayes for a couple of reasons. He could inject youthfulness into this team. He can bring you a young body, and the Lakers can certainly use a young, athletic, energetic big. And it's really hard to gauge how good a player is and what they can become in a really bad, tumultuous, and dysfunctional environment. That is what the New Orleans Pelicans are. I'm of the belief that if I'm ownership, I'm starting to look at Las Vegas. I'm starting to look at Nashville. I'm starting to look at Seattle to move the franchise there, because while New Orleans is an awesome city, Bourbon Street pops off. They love their Saints. And LSU football, the crowd doesn't show out for Pelicans games, and the fan support just isn't there. And to play for a fan base like that where the support isn't there is awful, and this isn't a well-run organization, and they've made a plethora of mistakes over the last couple of years. So, could a winning culture maximize the level of ability for a guy like Jaxson Hayes? And when you put him on a team alongside of LeBron, AD when he's healthy, Russell Westbrook running a little two-man game with Jaxson Hayes. The athleticism on display with that two-man game would be fantastic. Could that take the best out of Jaxson Hayes, and could he live up to some of those expectations from being that top 10 pick a couple of years ago? Also, there are other reasons why he is not getting a lot of clock and not getting a lot of burn with the Pelicans right now. They traded for Jonas Valanciunas this offseason, and Valanciunas has had a very good year. He has become the priority at that center spot. That's why Jaxson Hayes is not the priority. It's weird what's going down with New Orleans, but with bad businesses, sometimes you just can't come to grasp with what they are thinking. Now, Christmas, as I mentioned off the top, is only a few days away, and if you haven't gotten your holiday shopping done, we have you hooked up thanks to today's presenting sponsor, Fanatics. This Lakers hoodie, it's the same one that coaches and players wear, and it's available right now for just $70 if you go to chatsports.com/LAL hoodie. I'm going to put that link in the comment section as well as the description of this video. You have to use that link right there for that deal to apply. I did put together a trade idea for Jaxson Hayes, and we'll take a look at his contract, which is another reason why I like him going to Los Angeles. How about just a player-for-player swap? I put this in the NBA trade machine. It works financially for both parties because both guys are making around $5 million per year, and I think it helps both squads. Lakers get a need in the front court with Jaxson Hayes and a young player, and they send away a young player who really hasn't done much for the Lakers this year in Kendrick Nunn, who can get some buckets for a Pelicans team that has the kind of just ability or lack thereof to struggle sometimes in that scoring department. Jaxson Hayes, when I watch him, when I scout him, I thought this a little bit coming out of Texas when I was doing my NBA draft prep. He has some JaVale McGee in him. And when you turn back the clocks to that NBA bubble season, JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, instrumental components to the Lakers winning the championship that year. So you're getting an affordable player who's young, who's under contract for the next couple of years, who still has a lot of upside, and we have seen that in flashes throughout his first 3 years in the NBA. And those types of players are very important to the on-court style, on-court fit, and the overall fit on the roster. This is what I do know. I'm not sure what Jaxson Hayes is going to become. I'm not sure what his potential leads him to. I still think he can be a very good player. I do know this. DeAndre Jordan ain't it, man. He's bad. And it's a joke that he started games to start the year and that he still gets starts from time to time. Now, Dwight Howard really is just okay. And maybe it makes sense to have all of these guys on the team considering the COVID issues that all of these squads are dealing with and running into. But DeAndre Jordan is bad. And if you can replace him, yes, he's making less money than Jaxson Hayes, but with a Jaxson Hayes type of player, I'm all in if I'm Los Angeles. As for that contract, $5.3 million this year, 6.8 next year, and in 2023, 2024, a qualifying offer worth around $9 million. Now, if he's averaging around, let's say, 11 points per game and 7 rebounds, and he's giving you a block per night, and he's injecting this lineup, whether it's as a starter or as a bench player with really useful and beneficial minutes every night, $9 million for a rotational or spot starting big is a pretty damn good price as the NBA salary cap continues to climb. I feel bad for anybody, especially Jaxson Hayes, for having to hoop in New Orleans. As I mentioned, I've been to the Big Easy a couple of times. I've had a blast. It's one of those cities where you want to go over the span of a couple of days, and then after those days, you're just kind of done with it because you don't feel like drinking anymore, and your liver and your kidneys can't deal with it any longer. If I had to play NBA in New Orleans, it would just kind of be lame, and that's why they failed to attract some big-ticket free agents, and that's why they continue to be a somewhat dysfunctional franchise. So, one more time, let's circle back to this trade. Player-for-player swap, Lakers get Jaxson Hayes, Pelicans get Kendrick Nunn. Let me know who wins this deal if it were to happen, and maybe I should just be the general manager for this squad. Type LAL for the Lakers, NOP for the Pelicans. If you hate it, hit me up on Twitter, give me a follow, and give me a shout. It's all good either way. Thanks for watching the Lakers Report and hanging out with us.